Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where we burn our way through Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade 1 minute at a time. I'm Pete Mummert.
Oh, I'm Tom Taylor. I forgot how the show worked. Sorry. It's been a while.
Gerald Christopher St. Oliver Plunkett, patron saint of peace and reconciliation. Porter.
Huh.
Hey, you weren't expecting that from me, were you?
No, I'm just Jim Plunkett, patron saint of touchdowns.
What?
And we are excited to welcome back all the way from the map room in Tanis, host of Kevin Geeks Out, Kevin Maher. Welcome back, Kevin.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Glad to be here in someone's earphones. That's where we all live.
Yes,
that's right.
It's like back in the day, the cartoonish idea that, children would see the radio and they imagined little people in there. We live in headphones.
Little of an Annie.
While people are doing the dishes.
And now people have to be even smaller to fit inside iPhones and things.
Oh, yeah,
we just keep getting smaller.
Yeah.
Tom, that was so weird. You sang that Little Orphan Annie song. And it sounded real, like you were inside the 1930s radio.
Yeah, I'm a tiny little 1930s guy and you're inside your phone.
Every once in a while, you pull the weirdest poop out.
Yeah, thank you.
No swearing.
Oh, well, thank you for that, Mr. Porter. And today we're going to be talking about minute 68. Minute 68 begins with Henry warning about armies of darkness marching all over the face of the earth and ends with Nazis burning books from the future.
Which is funny because you said we're going to be burning through the movie minute by minute.
I did.
And this is a minute with burning.
Nice.
He gets it.
Yeah, Henry, starts this minute. Like last minute, he said, the search for the Grail is not archaeology. And here he says it's a race against evil. If it is captured by the Nazis, the armies of darkness will march all over the face of the earth. And aside from making me want to see Indiana Jones versus the Evil Dead, from that Armies of Darkness reference, I don't kind of get this. And I think Indiana Jones is with me. I don't really get what Henry is saying. It sounds like he's going a little bit off the deep end. I mean, do we think that if the Nazis get even forgetting what you learned at the end of the movie about how that whole everlasting life thing works, do we see how if the Nazis get the Grail, they will walk all over the face of the earth?
I think Henry's resorting to Crusade era imagery.
Yeah,
it's like he's become part of this quest to the degree that he's now sort of put himself into the actual Crusades. Like a lot of the things he's going to say in the next few minutes kind of reference being in the Crusades.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great point and a great question there, Tommy, because this is one of the most famous lines in the movie. And I had the same question. I'm imagining, this miles-long queue of Nazi soldiers lined up to drink from the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And then now it's like they would never die, but they all have the same flu.
Right.
Like they're all contracted. Yeah, they've contracted the same whatever's going around, but now they're never going to die, I guess. And then what happens if you have like a von Stauffenberg in the mists? It's like you have somebody who tries to kill Hitler or who winds up being a Quisling or a traitor. And you're like, well, now there's a Nazi soldier and you can't kill him.
Yeah.
That's true. Although if Hitler's the first one to drink, he can't kill Hitler either. It'd just be...
What would it be? I don't know. But I think what's interesting is when... the quest for the Grail is not archaeology, it's a race against evil. How long has that sentence been true? Like, has it been true ever since Donovan found the first marker north of, Ankara, or has the quest for the Grail always been a race against evil? And like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, Henry Senior is
Jerry.
always known.
Jerry, if you're looking for truth, go down the hall to the philosophy.
Right. Have you learned nothing from this movie?
Well, that was good. Well, see, I mean, we've been discussing, throughout this whole movie, what was God or Joseph of Arimathea like? What was their motivation for keeping the cup of Christ hidden here, on Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
keep
thought
getting-
about this. No, I know the answer. I discovered it in this minute. It's exactly like Cannonball Run. It's a race against evil.
It's a race against Burt Reynolds.
Yeah,
No,
it's a
he's
race
not
against
evil. Stop.
yeah, and there's
No, but that's. I mean, yeah. That comes. I forget if I said this last minute or not, but it feels like there's not supposed to be a race for the Ark, or for the Ark, for the Grail. There's not supposed to be one. Like God's not inviting people to try to find the Grail. It doesn't seem like it's supposed to be left alone. Like Sala would understand that it is not of this earth or something. It's not meant to be disturbed. That's the sense I keep getting. I don't know if I'm making that up, but it's like
But the Ark didn't have a whole bunch of clues leading to it that people had left.
Well, that's the really confusing thing. It's
Yeah.
like, why are people leaving all these markers for something that's not supposed to be found?
Yeah.
but wait a minute. Is that true, Peter? Think about all the staffs and the headpieces and all the, you know what I mean? You have to
Very
go
true.
into the you
Yeah.
have to go into the map room.
That's true. That's true.
You know, it's something we never discussed in Raiders. Were there all sorts of different ersatz headpieces?
Like that would lead you to the wrong
Yeah, or it had the wrong gem in it, or it was, I don't know. Like the way that they talk about different size staffs, but we never see any other head. Like how many headpieces for the staff of Ra are floating around?
At least 2 or 1.5.
It's just I only bring it up because you're talking about we don't have markers or like. Yeah.
That would suck. I had the Cantina playset when I was a kid, the Star Wars Cantina playset.
Yeah.
And it came with 2 right doors, so I couldn't have the doors. They had these doors that you would press a button and they would swing open. And so my mom wrote to Kenner, and they actually sent 2 doors. Like they sent 2 more doors to fix it. But the problem was they sent 2 more right doors.
Oh my
So I had
God.
4 right doors. And it was just the most frustrating thing in the world. Is I've to this day never seen what that's supposed to operate like.
Is it
and I just think if you
possible-
came across what's that?
Is it possible you had the left door upside down so that it appeared to be the right door?
You know
my
what?
God.
Time.
This entire podcast, we thought Pete Mummer was smart.
This is gonna
Maybe he
haunt
got
my
smart since
dreams.
then.
Yeah, this is gonna haunt me for a long time.
I had to
But I
send
just-
it-
we
I had
still
to
have that
send-
playset in the basement?
I had to send a book back to Amazon because the entire book was printed upside down.
But that's how it would feel if you get the wrong headpiece. Like this has been your life's work, and you get there, and you're like, oh, it's broken. This doesn't work, or it's not there, and you just give up. And that would just be like the most frustrating thing in the world.
Well, the way he says it, it's a race against evil. It sounds like God's hosting a reality show here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's it's like a Survivor thing. It's a race against evil.
Well, I like what you said before, that it's he's thinking in Crusade terms and using that kind of terminology, like almost like he's talking about Mordor or something, like just like
That totally, when he says armies of darkness march across the face of the earth, it was like, oh right, he was going to be Gandalf.
right. That would have worked.
But
Yeah.
during the Crusades, like the Crusaders thought they were bringing about the apocalypse. Like they thought that they were going to bring about the end of time by their crusading to the Holy Land. And I feel like this imagery is kind of the same exact like apocalyptic imagery. Like it's very dark. It's very,
Yeah.
it's very haunting.
And I would be kind of annoyed. It sounds like dialogue in a movie. It doesn't sound like something that somebody would. I don't know if Henry totally believes this or if he's, like just kind of like reading from his books or something. But Indiana Jones is like, Dad, you're not making a lick of sense. Like I'm mad at you because you've never made sense about all this stuff, and I don't get it, and I still don't get it.
Well,
So that kind of gives me something to hold on to.
Does Henry just put that together right now here at that crossroads? That's what I'm wondering. Like, or has
about
he
the armies of darkness?
No, about it's a race against evil. Or did he
no,
discover that like 35 years ago?
That's what it sounds like. That's what's weird. It's
Yeah.
like, why is it a race in the first place? And why? I mean, yes, your enemies right now are the Nazis, so I guess it's a race against evil. But it's not.
But-
it makes it sound like like the God or the Grail or something set that up, which I don't get that impression at all.
It's also interesting that 15 years before this conversation, before their conversation, the Joneses' conversation took place, who was the evil if not the Nazis?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So did God set it up like some kind of fun game? Like, I'm gonna put this thing here, or
also-
whatever. I'm gonna guide it so that it winds up being beyond the crescent moon, but I'm gonna have it kind of like a a blurry map.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really,
It's like a scavenger hunt.
it's very much a scavenger hunt, which is also I don't mean to stray too far away from this minute, but I think it supports what you're talking about, which is when you do get to the cave at the end, why would there be 4 other chalices to choose from? And where did those come from? Did the knight bring them all?
Right.
It makes
Yeah.
no sense, except like, what's the end game? Except, to your point, make it some kind of a scavenger hunt, Cannonball Run reality show.
Yeah. Price
Cannonball
is
Run
Right.
reality show. I love that. Price is Right. What if? I mean, I haven't seen this movie in 30 years, whatever it is. But what if all those chalices like aren't real? They're kind of like hologram chalices. But if you choose it, it becomes real. I mean, Yahweh does all sorts of crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying?
He is a weirdo.
You like that, Pete?
Yeah, I did.
Is Indy happy or sad to learn that the quest for the Grail is not about archaeology?
I think he'd be really annoyed. Like, what am
Yeah,
I doing here?
Yeah.
I mean, he hates archaeology, right?
Yeah.
I
Well,
feel
let me
like,
ask you
he's
this.
kind of relieved.
This gets to something that I've been thinking about for a while. And guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to compare this movie to Raiders of the Lost Ark for some reason. In Raiders, Indy thought that all the ghost stories about the Ark were just, out of superstitious hocus pocus, but he was going after the Ark. He wanted it. He was like, he was going to be the guy to bring home this incredible find of incredible historical significance. Like, even beyond, whether God was involved or not, or there was something kind of holy about it. But here, like early on in Donovan's office, he gets a kind of Tanis-like look of like when he realizes that they're talking about the Holy Grail. He's like, oh my gosh, the Holy Grail. But then immediately after that, and for the rest of the movie, he's like, Grail Schmail, who cares? I'm here to find my dad. Like, more than once, he's like, I don't care about the Grail. I'm just trying to find my dad. Mm-hmm. And so this movie, like right now, we're like, Jerry, you're asking, like, is he annoyed to find out that the quest for the Grail is not about archaeology? Like, does he actually literally, yes or no, care about finding the Holy Grail? I don't know.
But he's seeking it as an artifact, not as a magical relic that can give everlasting life. He's interested in it as something you could put into a museum.
Right.
That's his gig.
You know what?
But even on those terms, that seems
Yeah,
like a really secondary thing to him in this movie.
I think, you know what? I don't think he is interested in the Grail. I'm going to say no, literally.
I kind
Yeah.
of agree.
Yeah, I think he wants to get his dad back, and his dad is obsessed with the Grail, and I think his dad makes a good point here that we'll see, later in this minute, where the camera kind of closes in on Indy's face, and he has to make a decision here. So, but I don't think that's driven by wanting the Grail, even as an artifact.
Let me ask you. Let me ask you something.
Marshall College.
Let me ask you guys something else. If the Nazis were not seeking the Grail, would Indy still want it?
No. Because he knows that in Donovan's office, he literally says you have the wrong Dr. Jones.
Right. I'm not the one who cares about it.
Yes, I'm not the one who cares about it. And if they said, I certainly understand. Thank you for the time, Dr. Jones. My goons will show you back to your office hours. Mm-hmm.
Send you back through the window.
Yeah, I'll send you back. Actually, maybe that's why he had a change of heart in Donovan's office. No, not the office hours.
Not my class.
Not my class. Not archaeology.
It's weird because I feel like the answer is, I mean, he's Indiana Jones. I think the answer is yes, he does want the Grail, but I really feel like the movie is not giving me that in some weird way. Like, he doesn't have a moment anywhere in the movie, even like I think through the end of the movie, I don't think he has a moment where he's like, holy cow, me and the Grail, I'm going to get the Grail. Like, I'm fighting for like, if somebody took the Grail in a truck, he wouldn't be like, what truck? He'd be like, oh, well, I don't know. Like he's not fighting for it. He's just kind of like along for the ride in a weird way. Like, his dad is sort of driving this a little more.
Yeah, this isn't Indy's quest.
But I feel like the strength of Indiana Jones' adventures is, he wants to rescue Marion, or he has to get back to Short Round, or even Willie. That it's about the personal relationships he makes along the way on these adventures. That it's never just about the glory. It's which I really like earlier in the movie when the guy says, "Do you seek it for your glory or for the glory of God?" I thought that was a great line. But that it brings up the idea that Indy's in it for the glory. But really, it's never necessarily been about the glory. It's about the relationships. And in this case, it's clearly the relationship with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And even Marcus, like in the previous minute, he's like, no, we're not going to Berlin to get your diary. We're going to get Marcus. We're you know. Yeah. It's like the choice. It's like Berlin and the Grail or wherever and Marcus.
But look, if you think about all the things that Indy seeks out, there's one that takes the cake, for me at least, and it's the Chachapoyan idol. He wants that.
Yeah.
Like, he went to South America, and he hired all the guys, and he did it all himself. He did it over spring break, or he may have even, he said it was fall semester break. For all I know, he's ditching school. That's something that he wanted and orchestrated and went after specifically. The arc kind of falls into his lap, and it's Abner, and he does want to do it. He's super excited. And then the whole Temple of Doom thing. He falls out of the sky. He has nothing to do with anything. Yeah, the Sankara stones. He does it. And then we even joked about the whole thing. He's like, "Oh, do I really have to save these kids from slavery?
They're not rocks."
Yeah, I guess. It was like something he had to think about.
Right.
But I have a question for you, Pete Mummert.
Okay.
So is this whole movie and this whole little, Grail's not about archaeology, are they just operating under the philosophy of the best offense is a good defense? Because we have no idea what Henry even wants with the Grail. He's just trying to keep it out of the Nazis' hands, or evil. That's it?
Yeah.
So is that all that's going on here?
So would he be just as happy if sort of Cosm and everybody just stopped everybody from getting to the Grail? I don't think so. Like, I think he wants the Enlightenment more than he wants to stop the Nazis from getting it.
Right.
But what's the Enlightenment when you just drink it and then live forever? Or even weirder, you drink it, live forever in a 30 by 30 cave.
Yeah, like a little jail cell.
Yeah.
Well, I think it might just be he wants to find out that he's been right with what he's devoted his life to. Mm-hmm. Like, he wants to have some meaning to everything that he's devoted his entire life to this quest.
I'm going to chime in and say I agree with that at some point the quest becomes, well, I've put so much into this already. So many years already into this quest. We're so close.
Yeah.
Why be the Grail scholar on Earth and not try to find the Grail?
Yeah, and you go from being the Grail scholar on Earth to being the scholar on Earth. Like, he'd be on the cover of Time and Life and everything.
Grail Weekly.
Yeah.
Question for you, Kevin.
Yeah.
Does Indy ever understand obsessions?
Huh. Based on this minute, no. I guess not. He doesn't understand his own father's obsession. And to your point, he's a guy who kind of travels with the wind, falls out of the sky from an airplane and goes on an adventure. Adventure falls into his lap. People come to him. He's not necessarily seeking it out. So I'm not sure what his obsessions are. Although I would say his relationship with his hat could qualify as an obsession.
No, definitely. But he never talks about that.
That
one.
would
He's
make
just
a,
sort of there.
That would
Everyone
make
kind of
a-
looks at him.
That would make a fun fifth movie. They've got the hat.
What?
Man,
Oh, that's kind of how the fourth one ended, and that didn't go so well.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah.
But it's
Thanks,
interesting because Indy gets right in his dad's face here. Like he's pointing right in his face, and he's come a long way from the yes sir in the castle.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm wondering, has he been waiting his entire life for this confrontation, or has he done this before?
He may have done it like the last time they saw each other.
When was the last
Like, he's
time they
like-
saw each other, do you think?
Well, I don't know. Like, it seems like it's been a long time. Like Marcus says something about like, he says something about how long it's been since they've seen each other and how they've gotten farther and farther apart. And I can imagine that there was some like sort of like kiss off argument where he's like, "You're an obsessed weird old man. I don't get it." And see
is
ya.
Indy?
Yeah.
Does he not understand his dad's obsession because he's so resentful of his father, or does he actually not understand the obsession with the Holy Grail?
I mean, it's coming off of Henry's Army of Darkness speech, which seems really overblown. So it does feel like it's kind of like, Dad, you're nuts. You're like, yes, okay, the Grail, it's like an amazing artifact that we might be able to find, but you're going crazy. Like, how's it a race against evil? Like that kind of thing.
See,
Like you're really obsessed.
I took it the opposite. I took it more as,
Oh.
This is an obsession, Dad. You destroyed our family. Like, and then he brings up Mom. He's like, I never understood it, and neither did Mom.
Yeah.
And it's like he slaps his dad with that, and then his dad turns right around and slaps Indy with the same thing.
Yeah. Which what is that? He says, "Oh, yeah, I don't understand it. Neither did Mom." And Henry says, "Oh, yes, she did, only too well." But like, what does that mean?
Does that mean she was on board with the quest, or was she an enabler? Like, is she just
Yeah,
listening?
that
and never
Interesting.
really...
that line really baffled me. I had to pull up the script because I didn't understand the way Sean Connery pronounced illness. So I had to go to the
She
script
hid her
and
onus
see.
from me.
Yeah, it did sound like onus. And yeah, as I read it and as I listened to it, I did not understand the excuse he was making that she understood it only too well. But
Yeah.
but to go back, just to make it a little bit broader, and I guess this is what Spielberg and Lucas are probably getting at. Can any son understand his father's obsessions? And maybe it takes a lifetime in kind of a cat's cradle way to the son becomes the father. And I did a little bit of math to that end. Do you guys know how old Sean Connery was when he appeared in Crusade?
Was he 55? Something like that?
He was 59.
59, okay.
And how old was Harrison Ford when he appeared in Crystal Skull?
Wow.
66.
60.
Wow.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Connery is 12 years older than Harrison Ford,
Yeah.
which is, it just, I guess, the fact that he's not wearing a hairpiece and everything, he looks younger, or he looks older than he is. But it's very curious if you were to compare, like, how active Sean Connery is, running around with his umbrella and chasing stuff and going down a mountainside, compared to, I just saw Crystal Skull for the first time last year, that there's just
Really? Wow.
so many scenes of Indy being tied to a chair. It's like, let's make sure he can't get up. We've given him potion. He's paralyzed. He just has to lay on this mattress and watch as we reveal our evil schemes.
The snake venom goes right to his hip joints and makes him ache.
That's great. I have no idea what you guys are talking about. It's kind of ignorance is bliss. Well, we get this line about Indy's mom having an illness, and I'm wondering, do you guys think it was a malady of the ears?
And that Indy's going to suffer the same fate.
fatal
Yeah, and
issue.
he's gonna.
Yeah.
It's something. Maybe it's like, and your mother's ears, but maybe that's more like a curse.
Yeah.
Back when
Your mother's
Elsa
ears.
said that, like she's like, you have your father's eyes, and Indy's like, and my mother's ears, meaning like there's a genetic mutation. I'm gonna get some horrible
don't suck on him.
malady. My mother died of it. Her ears,
Yeah.
it's like ear myelitis or whatever.
I guess it's one of those things. You know, that's the problem, Junior, with your ears, just like your mother. You can hear me, but you're not listening.
Right.
That kind of a problem, that kind of an illness with the ears. They can hear, but they can't listen.
Oh, maybe. I like that.
Well, that's what I thought. Elsa, like when Elsa said Indy had his mother's ears, I was wondering if she actually meant he's the first man that's ever listened to her and supported her obsession.
Oh.
That's why she was so into them. Yeah.
Yeah,
God, that's great.
He basically only makes
I
out
love
with his
that.
ears.
yeah.
That's all she's into.
That's all she's into. Well, so I mean, look. So the whole point is we're supposed to glean from this that Indy's mom could have been saved, except that Henry's obsession for the Grail prevented him from ministering to his wife.
But it sounds like I'm starting to think like she understood how obsessed he was, and she was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna bring up whatever it was, cancer or something. I'm just gonna let him write in his diary or something."
Yeah, I don't want to trouble him.
Right,
with
pretty
right,
sick.
a little
I'm not
thing
gonna
like my
bring-
cancer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bring up cancer, but
Yeah.
but think about this. So is there like a symbolism or like insane irony to the fact that you're ignoring your terminally ill spouse while you seek the cup of everlasting
Yeah.
life?
Right.
Is that why she understood it? Was he seeking the Grail to save her?
Oh.
No, I thought exactly that too. But then what's crazy is then she would have had to tell him that she was terminally ill.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Step up your research, will you? Quit being such a.
Right, I mean,
you gotta
he
be
says-
a field worm and get out there and find
he-
this thing.
maybe, what if maybe it had something to do with rats?
You know, I just
Maybe she,
I
you
looked
know,
it up.
like-
I looked it up. Anna, this is according to young Indiana Jones, that Anna Mary Jones died from scarlet fever in 1912 at the age of 33.
Whoa. So that's like half an hour before the beginning
Yeah.
of the movie?
Really?
That's
Wow.
crazy. So she just died.
I was just going to ask that. Like, was she still around in that scene? We didn't see her with River Phoenix.
Oh,
Wow.
she
She's
could.
like,
Oh.
wow. That's crazy.
Wow.
She could be,
So,
she
I
could be
mean-
upstairs dying in silence,
And
or
yeah,
she
neither
just died and everyone's
paying
moved on
attention.
or something. Oh my God. It's the saddest movie I've ever seen.
And the dad said, Henry says, like, all I could do was mourn her. Mm-hmm. And you're like, okay, so listen, I can't listen to young Indiana Jones. So Scarlet Fever, I just we can't. That's inadmissible. But let's say it's something like that, or some terminal illness, or something that actually it sounds like could have been cured.
Right. It does. You
Yeah,
gotta get that
it
sense.
sounds
Of,
like-
like if only
yeah, like
somebody
he-
had known, it would have been
Yeah,
fine.
if only somebody had known and hadn't had their damn head in a illuminated manuscript 24 hours a day, then Indy's mom would still be alive.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, so she just didn't tell him, like, honey, I have a fever of 105?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to disrupt him. He's so close to
Yeah.
finding that second marker.
Yeah. I'm making dinner from the floor, dear. Don't ask why. Just worry about your book. You're good.
Man.
I
She's
just-
a
I just
master
wanna
of the
take-
secret guilt trip.
I just want to take a minute to appreciate that the three guys who are watching the trilogy of movies minute by minute are criticizing another man's obsession.
You don't hear our wives on the show, do you? I was going to take that one step further, and I stopped myself. Thank you.
Pete's wife has a fever of 105 right now.
So,
Oh my god.
but then, Indy looks up, like after Henry throws this in his face, Indy looks up and it looks like he's looking at the sign, but the sign's actually behind him. So I guess he's just imagining the sign.
Wait,
But-
is it really?
Oh, wait a minute. That's not true.
Pete?
Is it? Pete?
Stop it.
Yeah, they just moved past it, right?
No,
Wait a
no,
minute,
I
what
think
is
they
it? You
stopped
know
right
what-
at it, don't they?
They stop. You know what's funny about that sign, Peter?
What's that?
The sign now reads Venice, not Venedig.
Oh, get out of
Oh,
here.
I didn't notice that.
Magic sign.
It says Venice, Berlin.
Huh.
Also interesting that the sign is in English.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it wasn't when we first saw it, but now it says Berlin, Venice. I'm looking at it right now.
It's 'cause of the
Second
TARDIS.
43. Yeah, so I think that they're looking at it from the other. I think they stopped and
So they stopped and turned around?
front of.
No. I think when they first stopped the motorcycle, I think they were not yet at the sign. The sign was still in front of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could be dead wrong, but that's how.
No,
we're seeing
that's
this-
my recollection.
Because beneath it, there's another placard, and you're seeing it from opposite sides at 105.23 and 107.43. The sign is it is not only looking at it in different directions, but obviously it's pointing you in different directions, kind
Yeah.
of like the two different left and right doors of the Creature Cantina in the kind of place set.
That was mean, Kevin. Come on.
Yeah, Kevin.
Sorry.
That's
Invite you on as a, as a guest. You're a guest on this show.
I guess we know what my obsession is.
too soon.
So I just rewatched. They drive in and they drive right past the sign, and they don't
Really?
change their orientation. So I think he's just imagining the sign here.
That's
So
weird.
wait a minute,
That's
explain.
super
I thought
weird.
it said like on one side, the sign is written in German,
Mm-hmm.
and then on the other side it's written in English. Like every
right.
sign at the Germo-Austrian border.
Just in case.
You're right, which is weird because they're past the thing, so it has to be in his imagination now. Because the side, when they drive past it, looking back, it says Venice and Berlin in German.
Right.
Oh my God, you're
when
right,
You,
they
when
do
you
drive
first see the
past it.
sign, it says Venedig,
Yeah.
Berlin.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now it says Venice, Berlin.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird.
But that
God, wait a
100%
minute.
reads as though he's looking right at the sign.
Yeah, it does.
at the
It
end of this
100.
movie.
It does.
Yeah.
It does. And I thought the same thing. And
Yeah.
and now I'm thinking, wait a minute. Are we introducing what goes on in Indy's imagination?
Uh-oh. I'm cold.
Yeah, I'm cold. I think everybody has a fever of 100.
But
It's gonna change everything.
Is Indy now? Is he doing this now for his mom? Like, is he now
That's the
going
weird-
along on this
yeah.
for his mom? Is Henry manipulating him to do that?
I don't, because that's the end of their argument. Is that all she kept her disease from me. All I could do was mourn her, and he puts his hat on, and then Indy has made the decision to go to Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
So I that's as good as, I don't know. Does it mean like is Indiana Jones now saying, all right, if my mom sort of understood that there was something up with Dad's obsession, that he was onto something or something, then maybe we should go to, I don't know exactly. I don't know what's going on.
That never occurred to me. That he's like, yeah, he's picking up where his mom. What if Indy's sick right now?
He's not even telling the audience.
And he's not even telling the audience or his dad.
Yeah. Or maybe it is just like, maybe this is like we were saying, like this hunt for the Grail isn't even for him. It's for his dad. So he's like, Dad just brought up my mom, and he's sad about my mom dying. I guess my dad's sort of a human, and he's got feelings about this. And all right, I'll take him to Berlin, and we'll get the Grail, and we'll.
Yeah, I wonder, because it plays kind of like that. But so I was wondering, is he
Yeah.
doing it for his dad? Is he doing it for his mom? Or is he just doing it for himself?
I thought actually he was doing it because he heard that Armies of Darkness, and he was like, "Oh my god!" Like again.
Yeah. How many
His whole
Nazis do I
Armies
have
of
to
Darkness.
melt
Yeah.
before they go away?
Exactly. I kind of thought like, because he hears the whole Armies of Darkness, and he's still really angry about this as an obsession, and he's just like a 12-year-old, furious at his dad. He's just
Yeah.
furious at him. That's why I asked the question: does he not understand the obsession? Or does he just hate the fact that it's coming out of his dad's mouth?
Yeah, I think the latter.
Yeah. That at least flavors it for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he might, if he decides to go to Berlin here, I think it's because he's so frustrated and angry and just furious. He's like, I'm tired of all this. Just get it out.
Yeah.
Like, my dad and his stupid obsession about the Grail, and now we brought up my mom and all this stuff. I don't even care about the Grail. I just want it over with.
Yeah. Okay,
You know,
Dad,
I
we'll go
had
to
a,
Nazi
like-
Germany.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
I
drop you off.
this last week I had a wart on my foot.
Oh.
And I went to the doctor, I know, Pete, don't listen. I went to the doctor, and the guy said, hey, do you want me to numb this up? And I said, no, I don't care. And he goes, does this hurt a little bit? And it killed. He like starts to use the razor blade and get it off, like cut the wart off, and it hurt. And I was like, I don't care. He's like, we could just do this right now. I'm like, do it right now. Right now, I want it over with. I never want to see this wart again. Over with. And he hurt it more, and then he had to freeze it, and then he started digging more and more. I said, that's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Like
just get me out of here. Get me out of all this. Yeah, it was just because I'm so like wishy-washy, but every once in a while, everything collapses down on you. And you're like, I'm not wishy-washy at all. I want this done. I want it over. I don't care. I'll go to Berlin. I'm going to go into the lion's den and find Elsa and rip the diary out of her, breast pocket.
Yeah. Now, I wasn't there at the doctor's office, but I bet he wasn't saying we could numb this and then not get rid of the wart. I think he would have taken care of the wart too, but you wouldn't have been in pain.
I'm just saying, I feel like with Indy and his dad and the whole relationship, it's just decades long resentment and just it's baggage. It's just baggage.
Yeah.
As well as decades of resentment, but then also, very recently he found out he and his dad slept with the same woman.
Yeah.
That's got to be a knife in the side.
No grown man likes to think of his, senior dad having sex with another woman that's not his mom, let alone a woman that he himself bedded.
Yeah. I think he's like, he can't get to Berlin fast enough.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a rolling stop, Dad. Just get ready to jump out. I'll see you in Venice.
He's furious and angry. And he's also in a corner. It's like Armies of Darkness. He can't go to Venice.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. One thing I love, though, about this shot, you bring up the sign. I love that the close-up shot of the Berlin-Venice street sign, it amplifies the fact that it's actually a cross.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks like something out of, I don't know, The Great Escape or something. Some like really cool, Technicolor 60s World War II movie or something.
Yeah.
That blue sky and the trees. And
the trees are so emerald green, like behind it. It's amazing looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we cut.
It's funny because I thought symbolically, the use of that sign is that it's very much a crossroads, but it is a crossroads.
It's a cross, showing a crossroads.
Yes, exactly.
And then we cut, we're looking at the crossroads, and that kind of morphs into a German marching song, and we see a city square at night in Berlin, and they're burning them. They're burning books. They're throwing books onto a giant pyre. And this march was composed in 1866 to commemorate German victory over Austria that kind of began the German Empire. And Leni Riefenstahl used it at the beginning of Triumph of the Will, of the big parade scene.
Oh, no,
so they're kind of echoing that. This whole little scene.
No. Is it, correct me if I'm wrong here, Peter, or correct me if I'm wrong here, Doris. Is it the Königgrätzer March?
Königgrätzer. You're close.
What is it?
Yeah. They just did those umlauts, change the pronunciation.
Yeah, how do you pronounce it?
Königgrätzer.
It got me thinking, is there someone out there right now who is composing a military march? Or our military march is just passé. Like, for instance, like the Spin Doctors.
Are the Spin Doctors composing a military march?
Military
Is
march.
that your question?
No, I'm dead serious, because this is a great march, isn't it? I mean, I listened to this. This is a fantastic piece of music, and I thought to myself, where are today's military marches? Just, does anybody even compose them?
That's a good question.
Well, I did.
Probably like,
all
the Imperial March from Empire. That's probably the last one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, but that's like, what, 81?
The March of the Resistance from Force Awakens.
Maybe.
That was a good one.
I mean, like, whenever we think of marches, they're always like 100 years old.
Yeah.
The Raiders March.
Or in this case, what is this, 150 years old?
Yeah. Yeah, this was old even when the Nazis started using it.
Theme to Dallas. Just thinking, we're just naming songs that I used to play in like grade school band.
As we touched on this before, the A-Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, the A-Team. There
Yeah.
you go.
That's a great march.
Yeah.
I had a question here. We talk about the pyre of burning books.
Mm-hmm.
Now that the Nazis are confident that they have Henry Sr.'s Grail diary, is that just a big piles of books are burning? Is that just a big pile like everyone's now burning their own Grail diaries?
See, I think it
Like,
is because the actual famous Berlin book burning took place in 1933. And so 1938, when this takes place, all the books would have been burnt already that were proscribed. So I think they are. They're just like throwing whatever they find in there.
I just think it's maybe they're all their own personal Grail diaries. It's like, oh, maybe word got out. Hey, we have Henry Sr.'s Grail diary.
Or else they're burning. They're burning all the other archaeologists who are searching for artifacts as diaries.
Yeah.
I was doing research just before we started taping, and I know I read that Goebbels wanted 25,000 different titles wiped out that he considered them to be un-German. And I was doing my research trying to find it out. And then as I pulled up different German language pages and everything, I was like, oh no, am I going to be on some kind of a list now? Oh no, what are my Facebook pop-up ads going to be now? Oh,
now we can't air this episode.
There is a
So
nice.
I didn't
though-
get too far in my research before I chickened out.
You did it for the show, and we thank you.
Yeah, we do think you.
you're
Appreciate that. And if you go to Berlin today, there's a fantastic memorial to the remnants of the book burning across the street across Unter den Linden from the Humboldt University. In the plaza where this took place, there's a glass window in the middle of the ground, and you look down and you see kind of ash-colored empty shelves that would hold several thousand books.
Oh wow!
It's
Whoa.
a powerful
Really?
memorial. It's a cool thing to see.
Man.
Speaking of powerful memorials.
Yeah.
This just in from Professor Christy Porter. Indy says this is an obsession. What obsession do you have now that a family member will nail you on in 20 years?
My family member nails me on this obsession
Yeah, really.
daily. Why are you doing this stupid podcast?
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
That's not even in 20 years.
Yeah, that's in 20
know.
minutes.
That's now.
Yeah.
I hate to think what it's going to be in 20 years. Yeah, that covers
Tommy?
it.
Oh, you're all right. You're bailing, huh?
No, I'm saying that's totally it. That's you know,
yeah.
Yeah.
talking about these dumb movies 1 minute at a time. You got to be kidding me. Even I don't understand it. What am I doing here? What have I done with my life?
Kevin.
There's something that my older son is 12, and he has started making fun of me for repeating statements or ideas that I've shared with him, because I guess I forget that I've already told him. And the thing is, when we talk about pizza, I'll compare pizza to this quote where Billy Bragg, the musician Billy Bragg, said, "The rock and roll you hear when you're 16 years old defines what good rock and roll is." And I said, the pizza, the first good pizza you have as a kid, it will define what you think of as good pizza for the rest of your life. And I always compare it to that rock and roll quote. And, so whenever we have pizza, he will bait me. He will try to trick me into saying it. And I've caught on. So I can definitely imagine this happening 20 years from now, that he'll
Oh yeah.
and that he'll make it new, that he'll explain to his girlfriend or wife or whoever's with us. He'll get to make fun of me for repeating this idea about pizza and rock and roll.
You totally told that same story on Raiders too.
Oh, my God,
totally.
I did. Everywhere I go.
That's hilarious.
Pete's getting back at you for the two right doors.
Please
comment.
go for it. Go for it.
Too right.
Jerry, did you?
You know what? Living in Los Angeles, there's a lot of aloe plants that grow in the wild, or just not even in the wild, just on like what would be the tree lawn if you're from the Midwest. And I have this obsession with aloe. Like, I'll go outside in the middle of the night with a kitchen knife, and I'll just cut off a leaf, like a one of the succulent big stems, and I go home and I open it up and I'll just put it on my face. Like,
right.
like aloe. Yeah, and it feels amazing.
I'm picturing the neighbor
And I go to
yelling at you on
sleep.
your way back in here.
I know.
God damn it.
You put aloe on your face and it feels great. And I've kind of developed a little obsession about it. You read a little about it on the internet. I'll tell you that Google is a dangerous thing.
Yeah. Steal a little aloe on
It's
your
funny
way home.
because the idea that you're doing skincare is kind of like eternal youth by way of aloe.
It totally is. Totally is. I'll put a little aloe meat chunks in like the NutriBullet or something. It's good for you, they say. I don't know. That, and you guys know me, Pete and Tommy, I love tea, like making big vats of iced tea.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I got a little crazy, kooky, obsessed about that. Like, all the different, like, rooibos and peppermint and cinnamon, and you kind of put them all together and you have fun. And when you're sitting there and you have, like, 4 or 5 gallons of tea in your kitchen and everyone has left you, you start to think, maybe I'll... maybe I'm taking this a little too far. Maybe I'm like a little Henry Sr.
Well, you're like, I made the right choices. I'm good. I got my tea.
I'm gonna outlive everybody.
I love you, ground ginger.
I do really appreciate how innocuous your obsessions are, though, Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, I
holding back a
try to
little
take
bit.
care of myself a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm a little too healthy. Return to the earth a little too much.
Well, I think obsession implies that it's, I support, it's unhealthy.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what obsession implies, right?
Well, on that fine note, Kevin, thanks a lot for joining us today. Maybe
Can I make one last observation?
Yeah, please.
Oh,
I
please.
really like the transition of we see the sign and then we see the burn, the fire burning from the books, which is interesting, I guess, because books and signs come out of the same wood, right? But there's a great transition in the movie Witchfinder General. This was one of the last Corman adaptations of Edgar Allan Poe. They burned through all the good Edgar Allan Poe stories, so they did one based on a poem called The Conqueror Worm. And there's a fantastic transition that I love in the movie where it shows in 1968 when like the snap zoom was relatively new. They do a snap zoom of a shot into the ocean and you see these waves breaking on the beach, at the surf, and from the surf it does a dissolve into a fire that was taking place elsewhere, and it's like a big burning, and I love the elements of the water turning into fire. It just reminded me of that a little bit, and I always wonder what Spielberg and Lucas's influences are and what they're drawing from. But it just reminded me of that a little bit. I'll dig up a clip and I'll send it to you guys.
Cool.
Put
I
it
love
on
that.
the Facebook page.
Yeah, cool. And speaking of, that's kind of, you do a lot of really cool stuff like that with your live show, Kevin Geeks Out.
Yeah, we're constantly, doing compare and contrast and side by side and all that kind of stuff, and looking at trends and tropes and media histories and things that are. I always question, rip off, homage, or coincidence is something that I'm really interested in. So you can learn more by going to lovekevin.com, see some videos, find out about the latest Kevin Geeks Out show. Right now we're just doing them in Brooklyn, New York, but who knows? Somebody could be listening to this a year from now when we've expanded, and maybe I'll do a show in Boston or LA or taking it on the road somewhere. We'll see.
Yeah, hopefully you make it to San Francisco one of these days. I've been wanting to see
I
one
would
of these.
love to come to San Francisco. They got a great, the Alamo Draft House is there in the Castro district, right?
Yeah, or in the Mission. Yeah, but close to the Castro.
In the
Yeah.
Mission.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, would love to do that.
Yeah, I hope that happens one of these days. And if you guys want to find where we're going to post what Kevin sends us, come check us out on our Facebook group, Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener's Crusade. And you can find it there. You can find Kevin there. You can find all of us there. And you can also join us back here tomorrow for minute 69 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
It's actually not that healthy.
It's not very sticky.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that it is.
And sticky's never healthy.